Hello, hello. Give me one moment while I go live on Instagram. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Who's Getting Sued, presented by NPL Legal Dish. I am your host, Natalie Pierre-Lewis. So just a quick recap. Last week, we talked about Jay-Z coming forward and daring Tony Busby to sue him in criminal court because he has been added to the Diddy lawsuits. Hey, Mason Jar. We also talked about Kyrie Irving skipping out on a $400,000 bill from a retreat that someone planned for him, and he just basically hasn't paid her. And we also talked about items that are coming into the public domain. So if you've ever wanted to, so things that the copyrights are copyrights are running out. What school shooting? Was there a school shooting today, guys? Someone just said was watching about the school shooting. I have not heard about that. But yeah, those were the big things that we talked about last week. Jay-Z's lawsuit, Kyrie Irving skipping out on the $400,000 bill, and the items coming into public domain. If you missed any of that, you can go back and watch last week's show. Okay, so let's move forward to this week's docket of cases that we are talking about. And the first thing we are talking about is actually something that we talked about last week, our first story. Okay, well, hi, Fit Lawyer. Let me share this screen with you. So last week we talked about Jay-Z's response to the lawsuit that he had been added to. He told lawyer Tony Busby to file a criminal complaint against him if he's so sure that he did it. It just seemed, Jay-Z's not the type of celebrity who really comments on anything. So it was big news because Jay-Z doesn't really address these things. Since then, the person accusing Jay-Z has come forward and said that they may have made some mistakes in their recounting of the night that they were assaulted, but they do stand by the fact that they were assaulted. Jay-Z's attorneys, of course, are asking for the case to be dismissed, right? Now, in terms of Tony Busby, he's filing all of these lawsuits left and right? And now people are starting to go after him. And his excuse for this particular accuser, he's like, well, this case was referred to me from another law firm. So, I guess I'll have to go back and check the facts and things. But if you are shelling out these lawsuits like a deck of cards, right? You have at least 120 cases on deck. How are you making sure that there is quality control? Like you just said, that you're not putting your eyes on these cases yourself, right? So how do you know that all of these cases are viable? And this is what we talk about when we say brand tarnishment. Usually in a lawsuit, you do not hear about the representation. You don't hear about the lawyers and attorneys. Your lawyer attorney is supposed to be like your silent gunman, right? But Tony Busby is overtaking these cases, and this is really affecting, the stories of these women who were affected. I mean, who were assaulted. So I think it's very for Jay-Z. I think his legal team is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're asking for the dismissal. But there is also this other side, that victims of sexual assault, they say that oftentimes, they can have inconsistencies in their stories because it's a very traumatic event, right? So for those of you who are watching, do you think that the fact that the accuser has admitted to there being inconsistencies in her story, do you guys think that that is enough that that the case against Jay-Z should be thrown out? Because that's what his legal team is asking. What do you guys think about that? I personally, and I don't have a dog in this fight, but it, because that type of assault is very traumatic, and when you have trauma, you can remember things different, right? So it may be a fact that she was just kind of confused. So if there is something there, yeah, if she feels like something did happen to her, she should absolutely keep going. But when you have already shown that you may not exactly remember what happened that night, that could have a negative effect on your case. And on top of that, guess who else has been or is they're trying to pull into this Diddy debacle? Hi, Sunflower Vibes 24. Guess who they are trying to draw into this Diddy debacle? Rhonda said she wants to keep going to get the right kind of attorneys to help her. Oh, well, we shall see. Oh, crap. What did I do? No, that was the wrong thing. Okay. So, J-Lo is apparently a photo of J-Lo has shown up recently of J-Lo being at the Diddy parties, which makes sense because her and Diddy did date seriously back in the day. But now with all of these sexual assault allegations, they're trying to say that J-Lo may have been present during some of these assaults, or and just making all these kind of insinuations that J-Lo was involved. What do you guys think about that? Think about J-Lo as a celebrity and what that could mean for her brand if they're trying to drag her into this Diddy debacle, someone who she dated almost 20 years ago. How could this being associated with these Diddy lawsuits affect J-Lo's brand? We know her as an actress, we know her as a musician, we know her as a dancer. What else does she do? Yeah, that's what she does, right? So, like Jay-Z, we know Jay-Z is a billionaire. J-Lo may not be a billionaire. She got money, right? So, how does being associated with these Diddy lawsuits, how can that affect her brand? Rhonda said all your skeletons will come out of the closet. Right. But when the skeletons come out, Rhonda, what happens? What can happen? Think about all of the brands that J-Lo is either a spokesperson for or that she has. J-Lo, I don't know, does J-Lo still have a clothing brand? I know she had a clothing line a long time ago. She's had perfumes and things like that. I think she's mostly in her acting bag right now. But think about that. If she gets pulled in further into these Diddy accusations, right? J-Lo has a whole contract with Netflix to make movies. How could that affect her contract with Netflix? How do you think that could affect her contract? Because a lot of these contracts that actors and celebrities have, there's morals clauses in there. So if it's a situation where you might be violating morality, you could be, lose opportunities. Do you remember that couple that they were on Good Morning America and they were having an affair with each other? They were having an affair with each other. They were both married but separated, and they were having an affair with each other, right? When that came out, they both lost their jobs at Good Morning America because they said, that's against the morals clause. We can't have our anchors, um, out here doing whatever. You're supposed to be out here representing the news. right? So when you are in the limelight, how the public perceives you is very important in terms of being able to get deals and get work. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't go any further and you jail and go back raising her babies, right? All right. Next issue that we are talking about. How many of you guys have used some type of AI app? Now, we all know about Chat GPT, but if you have used an AI app, let's say in the last 30 days, please put AI in the comment box. If you have used AI in the last 30 days, please put AI in the comment box, okay? Now, there has been an ongoing battle in the courts over OpenAI. Several authors and publishers have filed lawsuits against the company OpenAI, saying that they are using copyrighted work to train their AI models, right? They're saying you're taking our work and you're feeding it into your computer program, and that's not cool because you're not asking for the right to use our work. Right? And there have been complaints about the use of AI from all sides. Well, I have a comment here. Thank you, Johnny Glover, for the comment. Actually, if you guys have heard, how many of you guys heard of that OpenAI employee, Suchir Balaji? He apparently was a whistleblower about OpenAI using copyrighted material to train their models, and he was recently found dead in his home, and they're ruling it a suicide. Right now, do we think that sounds kosher? Does that sound does that sound reasonable? What do you think? This guy, he's working for OpenAI. He's out here blowing the whistle, and all of a sudden he turns up dead by suicide in his place of residence. I'm not saying it's a setup, but it seems very strange that you kill yourself after outing this company and essentially causing this huge copyright debacle. Because I have Google alerts set up for copyright lawsuits, and pretty much 4 out of 5 of them these days have to do with AI, right? So what the AI people, they're saying that they're doing is that they're using open source items, things that are in the public domain, to train their AI models. They're saying we're not using things that have copyrights on them. We're using stuff like, I don't know, Jane Eyre or Charlotte Bronte to train our items. But this former employee, Sashir Balaji, was like, no, they're using all your work, guys, right? And then he turns up dead. Excuse me. Now, on top of that, now while we have this AI craziness going on, people are trying to figure out what it means, how it's going to affect us. Harvard University has just released over 1 million public domain books to AI. So Harvard University is fully on board apparently with this AI training thing, so much so that they are feeding information into the AI system, right? Now, for those of you who may be authors, who may be artists, who are creatives, and think about the work and the time that you put into your work to craft the perfect novel, to make the perfect sculpture, right? And they're taking your work and or the method that you use it, and they are feeding it into this machine that will be able to probably reproduce your work at 1/5 of the time and the price, and you just and you're just kind of sitting there. So a lot of artists and creatives are going to the courts and suing this open AI company for using copyrighted material. And this is why it's important for you to have your copyrights together. Hey, Ayo Chloe, so that you can say, hey, this work that AI is out, work that they're using to train their machine, it's mine, and I didn't tell them that they could use it. I actually have been getting notifications on my YouTube channel that they are saying that I have the option of choosing to use my content to train third-party AI programs. I personally don't want to do that because no, I'm just anti-technology. I've always been a Skynet. Those of you, you may be of a particular age, you know about the whole the Terminator franchise and Skynet. I really feel like this OpenAI issue is becoming a Skynet issue, because you're feeding all of our information into this machine so that you can try and produce it at a cheaper and faster rate. But just for those of you who are creatives out there, I want you to be careful, especially with this AI stuff. A lot of these apps, they're probably going to try and slip in clauses where in order for you to use the app, you have to let them, use your information to train a third party thing. So be very careful when you're signing up for different programs to get your art done. IMF Brandon said, I heard that's also an issue with Microsoft Word. Can you expound on that, Brandon? You said you'll find it and send it to me. Yes, please do that. All right. So be careful of OpenAI out there. All right. All right. I'm going to share next story. I'm going to share an image with you guys. And I want you guys to tell me, Instagram, don't worry. I will show it to you too. Just give me a moment. Those of you watching via StreamYard on YouTube and Facebook, if you have ever seen these snacks in your local convenience store, please give me a thumbs up in the comments. And Instagram, I'm trying to let you see it. I don't know if it's going to be, wait, is this? Yeah. Can you see? Yeah. If you see these snacks, how many? All right, like when you go into your local convenience stores. Oh, okay. Brandon said that there's a privacy setting that you need to restrict Microsoft from using your Word docs to train AI. Okay, so you guys recognize these snacks, right? Well, did you know that these snacks are from Mexico? They are by a company that is called Bimbo in Mexico. It's very popular. So these snacks are directly from Mexico, right? Now, the word bimbo in Mexico can mean a little kid, right? But Mexico, the company, this Mexican company, Bimbo, recently tried to get their trademark approved in Switzerland. Now, does anybody know the languages that they speak in Switzerland? Does anybody know the languages that they speak in Switzerland? If you don't know, they speak French, they speak German, they speak Belgian, and I believe Romansh, right? In German, the word bimbo is a derogatory racist term. So, because a good amount of the Switzerland's population speaks German, Switzerland is saying, no, Mexico, you cannot bring your bimbo brands here because it is a racist term and we are Switzerland and we don't get into all that. So when you are trying to expand your brand throughout the world, understand that translation matters. So if you make sure that what you're trying to expand to the rest of the world in terms of your trademark, make sure that it doesn't translate into something either, something negative. I remember that there was a car called, I think it was the Chevy Nova, and they tried to bring it to Mexico and it did not go well because Nova in Spanish, Nova means no go. So nobody in Mexico wanted to buy the Nova, right? So just like that, Switzerland does not want your racist snacks, Mexico, in our country, even though it just happenstance. It's not on purpose. But if you are a person who thinks that they want to expand their brand internationally, you want to make sure that when you are choosing your brands, your trademarks, that they are that they don't translate into something negative in someone else's language. Okay. But feel you can still find your Bimbo snacks here in the good old US of A. Oh, but speaking of Mexico, so I'm sure you guys are very astute and you pay attention to the news, and you know that the president-elect has been talking about putting a 25% tariff, which is a tax on Mexican and Canadian goods coming into the United States, right? If you heard about that, please give me a Mexican flag emoji. If you heard the president-elect talking about how they are going to raise, how they're going to impose a 25% tariff on Mexican and Canadian goods coming into the United States, please give me a Mexican flag in the comments. Thank you very much, Brandon. The funny thing is, while the president-elect has been talking big shit. Sorry, he's been talking big shit about putting tariffs on countries. At the same time, his company filed for a trademark in the country of Mexico. So there was a trademark application filed in Mexico for Trump Towers because Trump is trying to build some type of hotel or whatever out there. Meantime, you trying to tell Mexico that they're going to pay an extra 25% on the goods coming in here, right? So what does that mean? That means that Mexico can use that as leverage against him. Oh, you want to put a 25% tariff on us? No trademark for you, right? So and this is how you can use intellectual property to get people to do what you want. For what's his name? The president-elect, he wants that trademark, even though as the president-elect, you're supposed to divest yourself from your business dealings, but whatever. But you're also saying, but we're going to put an extra 25% tax on the things coming in this country. So based on this, the fact that the president-elect is seeking a trademark in the country of Mexico and is also threatening to put a 25% tariff on items coming in from Mexico, what is the likelihood that you think this tariff on Mexico is actually going to go through? Because I feel like this person, the president-elect, I did not vote for him. I think he does not know how to divest his personal issues from political issues. For me, I wouldn't think that the tariff would even happen because he has business interests down there and he wants to keep them. But that's just me. Does anyone disagree with me? You are fully free to disagree with me. Hmm? Let me know. Let me close out these Mexican snacks. Anybody disagree with me? How many of you think that the president-elect is going to go through with these day one tariffs that he's been talking about? Especially since he's trying to apply for trademarks in one of the countries that he plans on imposing this tariff on. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but that's just me. All right. Let me see. Let's go to this comment box. I feel like I'm in. Okay. All right. Okay, before we move on to our next story, I want to remind you guys that you are watching Who's Getting Sued, presented to you by NPL Legal Dish. This is a broadcast where we learn business and legal concepts while we gossip about your favorite celebrities, okay? All right, moving on. How many of you got, excuse me. Do we have any George Clinton fans in the house? If you are a George Clinton fan or Parliament Funkadelic fan, give me Hmm. Give me some type of yes, give me a P emoji. If you are a P-Funk fan, a George Clinton fan, give me a P in the comments, okay? Now we have George Clinton to thank for many hits that we have. Actually, while we're doing this, y'all name some of George Clinton's hits. Now, George Clinton has been making music for over 40 years. This man, I'm not even sure how old he is at this point. He may be in his 60s or 70s, but George Clinton has been on the performing circuit for decades, all right? And he has created a lot of music. Now, he has also worked with a lot of people in the past, right? Now, when you have copyrights on something, you have 3 years from the date that you know of the violation to say something, right? Testify, up for the downstroke. Okay. So let's say, I write a song and somebody steals my song. Let's say I write a song in 2020, right? And I find out somebody stole my song in 2022. From the time I know that this person stole my song in 2022, I have until that time in 2025 to file a lawsuit for copyright infringement. Now, that doesn't mean I can only get, royalties for those 3 years, but I have 3 years from the time I know of the infringement to file, right? So, George Clinton, he has worked with tons of people over his career, including at the beginning a gentleman by the name of LeBaron Taylor. LeBaron Taylor was a Detroit-based music producer, DJ, and record company exec, right? George Clinton recorded music for Taylor's label in the late 60s. The label went bankrupt, as many labels do. So the label's bankrupt. George Clinton goes somewhere else to start recording music, including music that he had recorded with what's his name? LeBaron Taylor. Okay. So now this is in the late 60s. So let's just give it 1968 to like 1972, right? Last year, 2020, well, within the last year, 2024, LeBaron Taylor is trying to sue George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic for copyright infringement over those songs that he recorded in the late 60s, early 70s after the studio went bankrupt. You have known that George Clinton has been running the streets since that time. Where have you been for 40 years? So he tried to lodge a lawsuit against George Clinton, and the court said, "Sir, where have you been?" No. Okay? No, now. Let's say it had been 40 years, and let's say LeBaron Taylor, let's just say he was in a coma for 37 years, right? And then he comes out of the coma, and then he realizes that George Clinton stole some of his music or whatever, or recorded it without his permission. Maybe then you might have some type of, argument. I couldn't respond because I didn't know I was in a coma. LeBaron, you weren't in a coma. You've been awake. So where you been, bro? Right? So what do we think about that? Do we think that the court got it right? Should they have offered LeBaron Taylor maybe a little piece of some of that Parliament Funkadelic check? Or is it just, sir, not only are you late, this thing is desiccated, it has decayed, it is in the ground, it has grown a tree. Right? So keep in mind, when you have copyrighted material, you have 3 years from the time you know of the infringement to file a lawsuit. All right. So, we wish good health and long life to the legend George Clinton. May he continue to bring us the funk. All right. Next story that I want to talk to you guys about. How many of you have ever bought supplements on Amazon, like diet supplements, be they vitamins, things like that? How many of you have ever bought diet supplements on Amazon, right? I'm willing to say a good portion of you. We can get everything on Amazon, right? But some retailers specifically do not like to sell on Amazon because it is hard to maintain quality control. One such company is called Thorne, Thorne. This company creates diet supplements, and they have specific vendors that they allow to sell because they have strict measures for maintaining quality control in terms of how you store the supplements, what temperature are they stored in, how old the supplements are, right? So they have very specific vendors with strict rules as to how these supplements are supposed to be kept. And one of their rules is no Amazon, because it's too hard to maintain the quality control. Now, there is a company by the name of Davachi. They purchased these supplements from Thorne. They bought them with their own money and then resold them on Amazon, right? And they tried to basically argue, well, we bought them with our own money. It's mine. I can do what I want with it. But the court said, no, you bought these with the intention to resell them. And this company has very strict measures. Not only was Davachi reselling these supplements online, he was messing up the orders. The pills were not working. It was late. Things were late getting delivered. Some of them were expired. So the company Thorne suffered some bad reviews because of this unauthorized dealer of their diet supplements. So it is when you are making items, if you are a creative, if you are selling items, especially branded items, it is important that you get their permission to use their brand, because when you put their brand on there, you're essentially giving the purchaser a guarantee. And if you can't guarantee that and it falls apart, then it looks bad on the brand. So Thorne Diet Supplements got a ruling against Davachi, and Davachi can no longer sell pretty much anything health related on Amazon, and especially not Thorne. Thorne is like, we don't even want to be on Amazon, right? So if you become an official vendor for a product and they tell you these are the rules that we have for selling our product, you need to follow it or they will rescind that deal. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. I'm so thirsty, guys. Speaking of unauthorized dealers, have you guys seen these advertisements lately for these realistic looking baby dolls? If you have seen these advertisements for these realistic looking baby dolls, just give me a baby emoji. I think they're creepy. As much as, I love the kids, newborn babies look kind of weird, right? Anyway, so there is this trend of people wanting these realistic newborn baby dolls, right? And there is a Utah doll maker who is making tons of money, very successful at it. And as happens with most industries, other companies tried to make knockoffs. Specifically, two Chinese companies were making knockoff lifelike babies and calling them. Now the company's called Bountiful Baby. If you've ever heard of Bountiful Baby, they make these realistic newborns, right? The Chinese companies were essentially making Bountiful Baby knockoffs. So the doll maker went to court, said, hey, these Chinese companies, they're making my dolls. They don't have the right. I have trademarks. I have trade dress, the way that my dolls look, all of that, it's protected. So the court, they looked at it. They said they are absolutely copying your style, and they awarded this Utah doll maker $600,000 in damages and $52,000 in attorney's fees. Now, we don't know the name of this doll maker. All we know is the name of the company, but we don't need to know their name because they have their intellectual property in order. So when they go to the court doesn't have to say, who are you? All you have to do is say, court, I've got this thing that says I own this trademark and these people are out here using it. So the court is like, all right, you got this person, even though you may not be a household name. We know you got your paperwork in order. So we are ruling in your favor because it is obvious that these people have copied your style. Now, with that being said, considering that these companies are based in China, what is the likelihood that this Utah doll maker is going to see any of that that award, the $600,000 in damages or the $52,000 in attorney's fees? If you think that the doll maker is going to get any of that money from the Chinese companies, give me a thumbs up. If you think the doll maker is just going to have to hold it, give me a thumbs down. Now, I'm sure they've disabled the website, so those companies will probably not be able to sell the dolls anymore. But I myself am not convinced that this doll maker is going to see any of that money that they were awarded by the court, because you're going to have to go find, who's in charge of these Chinese companies and then trying to attach the, like, a lot. Fit lawyer, right? Not likely. IMF Brandon gave me 2 thumbs down. Yeah, that, yes, you gotta win for justice. You got justice, but I don't know if you're gonna see that money, girl. Yes. Okay. Now, last story of the evening that I want to talk to you guys about, and then we are going to talk about some of these new trademark changes. Did any of you ever use IMF Brandon said they have 1 billion people to ask. Exactly. Did any of you ever use an app called Musi? M-U-S-I. M-U-S-I. Have any of you ever heard of an app called Musi? If you have, please give me a musical note in the comments, okay? Some type of music related thing. Now, Musi, they were an app where you could listen to music from YouTube. They essentially would just stream music from YouTube, but they would take out all of the YouTube ads and put their own ads, right? So instead of seeing, the hundreds of, like, I refuse to pay for YouTube, so I get all the commercials. So instead of seeing all those YouTube commercials, if I use Musi, I would see Musi ads, right? So now Musi does not have permission from YouTube to do this. So YouTube basically has filed a lawsuit against Musi for copyright infringement, as well as music companies. And they're like, you're streaming stuff from YouTube without our permission, and then you're putting your own ads on it. How dare you, right? Now, you could find the Musi app on the Apple, in the Apple store and the Android store, but Apple has since taken the Musi app off of their platform. They're like, Musi, you got all this legal stuff happening. We don't want you here. So they took it off. So guess what Musi did? Musi is trying to sue Apple to get put back on the app. Essentially, Musi is saying, Apple, what's going on between us and YouTube? That ain't none of your business. You shouldn't have chosen sides. So we should still be on your platform. And they are trying to get themselves put back on the Apple platform. What do you guys think about that? Musi is saying, don't worry about my court cases, Apple. That ain't none of your business. You just let me be up here getting my revenue. Can you imagine that? Why do you think Apple was so gung-ho or so quick to take Musi off of their platform? Why do you think Apple took that proactive move? They probably did that because they don't want to be sued by the record labels and music companies for, essentially assisting in copyright infringement, right? I don't know if you guys remember, we talked about, what was it? Comcast or Cox Communications, their cable company. They've been sued for millions of dollars because they say that the music companies say that they're allowing their customers to pirate music, and not stop them, right? Brown Nuna said everywhere is a mess. Right. So Musi's on here. They're like, yeah. So yes, it's like somebody saying to their employer, yes, I'm about to go to prison for 10 years. How you gonna fire me? Or at least that's how I see it. But because they are smart business people. Exactly. Apple does not want no smoke with these music companies. They already have issues with streaming. So they're like, we're not touching this music thing. Musi, go figure this out on your own, and then maybe you could come back. Right. So good luck to Musi. All right. Now, I wanted to take Nunzilla. I wanted to take some time to talk to you guys real quick about the new trademark changes that are happening this year. I have mentioned it briefly to you guys before. I have a 5-minute video on YouTube that talks about it, but I really think it's important for you guys to understand what is happening with everything, because a lot of you are getting your brains together, and I want you to be aware. January 18th, 2025, the fee structure for filing your trademark is changing. Okay, here are the changes. One, there used to be 2 types of applications you could file. Now there's only one, and it costs $350. Okay. 2, you need to use the description, the classes of goods and services that the USPTO provides to you. A lot of people are filing their own trademarks, and you're not following, the setup of the USPTO, and it's causing a backlog. The USPTO, the trademarks applications have quintupled in the last few years, and the USPTO has this huge backlog. So when you don't use the pre-approved items that they have on there, you slow it down, right? So now if you don't use their pre-approved list of descriptions and goods and services, they're going to charge you an extra $200, okay? Also, if you're too long, they give you a box to put in about 200 words. If you go over that by 200 words, they're also going to charge you another $200. And if you leave out any important information that's supposed to be on the application the first time, they're going to charge you an extra $100. So you guys need to be very careful when you are filing your trademarks. Please get some type of legal guidance so that you don't get these accidental fees. As well, those of you who may already have trademarks, there are issues for you as well. Prices are getting more expensive. The declaration of use that you have to file every 5 years, it's going up from $225 to $350. And your renewal registration that happens every 10 years, that's going up from $525 to $650. If you have the opportunity, if you can file your trademark applications or renewals before these new fees take into effect, I would encourage you to do so. All right. If you want a more detailed explanation of what that is, go watch my last video on YouTube. It's about 5 minutes. You'll see the icon that says Money Saver on it. All right. So that is where I'm going to leave you guys tonight. Does anybody have any questions before we head off for the evening? If you do, please just put them in the box. Those of you who want to discuss your trademark issues, please send me a DM. I do provide free 15-minute consultations over there. Let me put this in the box. Linktree / This is where you can book a free 15-minute consultation so we can talk about your trademark issues and see what we can do. All right. So this is where I leave you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week. Bye. Over.